Hey guys, welcome to the stream. My name's Josh. Cultivate Your Best Self is about seeking a deeper knowledge of yourself, who you aspire to become, and how and why you value time and money. Today we're going to be talking about happiness. Everything about happiness that you can think of, we're going to be talking about it. I'm going to be referencing a lot of Dr. Laurie Santos' stuff. She's someone out of Yale who is a researcher, author, and podcast host. And a lot of the research that she's done on happiness, I'm going to be referencing to kind of educate you guys on some of the things that we kind of trick ourselves into thinking will make us happy, and then some of the things that will actually make us happy. And then I'll talk about some of my own personal experiences about things that, I kind of find that fulfill me and make me feel happiness. But I want to just kind of get into a deeper conversation about like what really is happiness, and are we meant to be experiencing happiness for like perpetually, like continually, or is it something that's only supposed to be temporary, that comes out of us achieving something? I'd love to get your thoughts, but go ahead and grab your drink, grab your snack, and jump on in, and let's get started with this little presentation. So before we get started, I just want to touch really quickly on what is happiness. And I think there's a bunch of definitions out there, but the one that I kind of summed up in my own like thoughts in my own words is it's a temporary state of well-being, generally characterized by positive emotions caused by positive experiences. And that's just kind of meant to say that when we experience something that's positive or that's joyful, that means something to us, then it produces this emotion of happiness, like positive emotion of happiness, of joy, of satisfaction. But exactly what I say here, I think it's something that's meant to be temporary, something that we kind of like aim to achieve by doing things that actually fulfill us. And I kind of wrote here, what is happiness to me? It's waking up to my wife sleeping next to me, my son cooing in his crib, and I walk over and I see him smile, give me a big old smile when he sees my face. And I feel like this joy that I can't quite explain, but I know it's happiness. And it's that feeling that I get after completing a tough workout. Like there are times when I approach a workout that I sometimes I don't think that I can get through it, but I just try to focus on whatever my very next rep is, and I tell myself, can I do that one rep? And yes, I can. So I push myself through it, and lo and behold, when the workout's done, I'm like, oh man, like I can't believe I got through it. And I feel this kind of like a sense of accomplishment and joy and fulfillment, knowing that I lived kind of being an example of one of my core values, which is health. It's getting on this live stream every week and showing up to share my knowledge with others. I know I know there's no one here, right? But I'm still showing up every single day, and I have this overwhelming belief that people will resonate with what I'm talking about and begin to join in slowly. So, and then the last thing I have here is it's hanging out with friends and family. I don't often get to see my mom or my sister, but when we hang out, we try to spend some quality time with each other. My sister now, like, she has a daughter, so I have a niece, and my mom is just loving the fact that she has my niece as a granddaughter, and then I have my son, who is just about to hit 3 months old this Friday. So she's ecstatic about having grandchildren, and she's been wanting grandchildren for a while. But I know she finds happiness with us and with with our kids, mine and my sister's kids. But I think kind of overall, the biggest thing I think that we get that feeling of happiness from is really based on experiences and revolves around experiences. whether that be, something that you personally enjoy, something that means something to you, or generally it's like in a social situation, whether it be with your friends, your family, a loved one, significant other. When you share experiences, you tend to feel more happiness with whoever it is that you're with, especially when you're sharing that experience with each other. And that those positive experiences kind of evoke those positive emotions. And then, as I'm talking about this, I'm also thinking about that we're also meant to experience the opposite of happiness, which is, sadness, tough times, because I think without that, um, the positive and negative side of things, it's hard to appreciate one without the other. And when it comes to like really boosting your experiences of happiness, if you haven't experienced the sad part of things, um, it may be a little bit harder to enjoy things that you may not even realize are experiences that you likely should be experiencing positive emotions with. And yeah, it's this kind of this juggle, this juxtaposition of positive and negative experiences that really characterize your ability to really feel that joy that comes from those positive experiences. Let me pull up some notes on the site here. I actually have it on this. Let me actually take it out of here really quick. There you go. And then I'll expand this again. Now I got my notes here. Let me move on to Laura Santos. So, actually, it's Laurie Santos. It's my mistake. It's Laurie Renee Santos is a speaker, researcher, professor, and podcast host. She's she's a cognitive scientist and professor of psychology at Yale University, and she has a course there that's really popular, and she made that course available on Coursera, and I can link that. I can link the course. It's free for you to take. I think you just need to sign up with an email, but it's a course on kind of gauging what your happiness is, and she teaches you all the things that some of the things I talk about here. She goes into much more detail in. So if you're interested, go ahead and check out my link in the description. As soon as I'm done with this, I'll post that link in there. But she has a podcast that explores the science of happiness called The Happiness Lab. And today, when I was making dinner, I actually started listening to I think it was like the first or second episode. It had to do with like you do have the capability of changing like your perception or experiencing happiness today. And yeah, I'm going to continue listening to that kind of over time to kind of get a feel for her work and the things that she talks about, because I think it's really important, especially in the realm of personal development, when the things that I'm working towards and that she's kind of already done with her work is getting people to understand that through your own cultivating the best version of yourself, you can experience more joy and satisfaction and fulfillment in your life. And it just takes that bit of effort on your part to really take control of the actions that you take in your everyday life, so that you're more capable of experiencing those things, the health, the wealth, and the relationships, and growing those to a point where you can experience joy much more often than you normally would. So the first thing she talks about in her, she has a YouTube video, which I'll also link, and then I'm also referencing an article from someone who took her course, and I have her course in my on my to-do list. I just haven't set a date for when I'm going to try it out, but I think it'll be a really interesting experience. I think it takes it takes about 3 or 4 weeks to get through if you really commit to doing like 1 or 2 hours a day for, I think it was for like 3 or 4 weeks. But I'm really interested in taking it and seeing kind of where I fall in the spectrum of happiness. I know there's things in my life that I seek to improve upon, and future versions of myself that I'm currently working on cultivating. And we'll see where life takes me. I have no idea, but I'm excited for what the future holds, and we'll see what happens. So the first thing here on the list is I'm gonna go through each one of these, and then just kind of give my thoughts on each one. But does having a high paying job, do you think that would make you happy? And I think that's kind of an easy answer for me, at least, especially if it's a job that you don't enjoy doing, regardless of the money that's involved. I feel like one of the examples that I can give is I have some friends who are working corporate jobs, and they're pretty miserable, and they spend a lot of their free time trying to distract themselves from the fact that they have to work that job. And I personally, I'm not in their shoes, so I can't speak for them, but from the outside looking in, it kind of seems like it's even difficult for them to enjoy, the things that they do, like on the weekends, just because they're so focused on, in a couple days I have to go back to work, and I hate doing that job. And so I think a lot of people fall into that position of, working jobs they dislike. Let me see if I can lift up the chair. Oh, no, that's as high as it goes. I feel like I'm a little low in the camera, but having a high-paying job, just because it pays money, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're happy in what you're doing. Having a lot of money, I think this is a controversial one, because on one side, if you're not used to having a lot of money, I feel like people tend to think that having more money would solve a lot of their problems. But what I've found is that when you're on, in the more, if you feel like you're poor or you're like middle class and you're kind of striving to want to have more money, this idea that more money will solve problems is not really true. The biggest case I've seen is a lot of stories of people coming into kind of a huge windfall, like winning the lottery, or an inheritance, and then people kind of just blowing all that money on things they wish they had when they were poorer. And one of the best insights into that whole concept that I just described was from MJ DeMarco in his book The Millionaire Fastlane, where he says poor financial management or more money doesn't solve poor financial management. That's what it was. He says more money doesn't solve poor financial management. And that was kind of, really eye-opening to me when I was first starting my own, personal growth journey, and I really focused on, managing myself, one, and then managing all the knowledge that I was getting, because I didn't want to just read books and not really absorb it and put it into action in my own life. I needed a way to kind of save all that, record and save that information so I can reference it when I'm ready to put it into action. And then the last thing was, money management, understanding the psychology behind what my spending habits are, and having conversation with my wife about what can we do to improve our money situation, because there's working the jobs that we have, not much was going to change unless I decided or my wife decided to kind of really double down on trying to do like a side hustle, or do this whole YouTube thing. And right now I'm trying it all because I'm between jobs, so I have a bit of time to watch over my son, tend to his needs when he needs me, but I also have I get like really focused in on the things that I have to do or that I can do here in, pursuing this YouTube thing. I'm on TikTok as well, and then I started a couple months ago on X, formerly Twitter, and I'm actually growing there relatively quickly. It's been a couple months. I think I started really posting consistently in June, and I'm getting up to a couple hundred followers, and I really don't know what's quick or what's not, but I do feel that if I stay consistent, I will grow the following that I'm looking to achieve, because all this stuff that I'm talking about, I truly believe in, and I think that will come across the more that people start to join in, and I hope that does come across from the way I speak about things, but yeah, we'll see where everything goes. So having lots of money. Um, there's you hear stories about wealthy people not being happy as well, and I think a lot of the times when people who are already rich or have been rich for a while, I think they tend to overly focus on generating just as much money as they possibly can, and then they end up neglecting the social aspect of their lives. They neglect their relationships, and I mean, I'm sure you've seen it in movies, and I do tend to believe that this is actually real, that, people that go out partying all the time, or, they're on their yachts, they're enjoying these like fancy parties. It's an isolating and kind of lonely life. It's like hollow, like they're not truly experiencing things with people that are quality relationships in their lives. And so they feel this emptiness, despite having all this money. And I think that the same can be true, on the opposite end of the spectrum, where like, you're poor, and then you have the relationships, but you end up spending all this money on like material possessions, and then you run out of money, and then what's left? Just the material possessions that you get used to kind of right away, and they bring you no more happiness than a rock would bring you. And it's really kind of understanding that side of yourself of like, what would truly bring this happiness to my life, and we'll get into that a little bit on the what makes us happy section of this. But technological or societal advancements. I had to kind of think about this one, because if you look at where we were like 20 years ago, which is what, 2004. The internet was kind of just starting to take off. I remember having dial-up. Having dial-up and hearing that tone, and that was back in like the mid to late 90s, and it's really crazy to see how far we've come technologically, and I think and reflect on has that really brought me more happiness. And I kind of would have to say partially, because growing up, I was an avid gamer. I gamed quite a bit, and I think without technological advancements, I would not have cultivated some of the relationships, the friendships that I made with people across the country, that I would join in these gaming groups with, that I necessarily would not have been able to do that without those technological advancements. And then I remember during the summers in college, when I probably should have been focused more on creating side hustles. Now that I look back, I wish I would have done that more. But I'll never forget this one summer where one of my best friends in college, he invited me and a group of his own friends from high school over to his place, and we had what's called a LAN party. And I don't know if you know what a LAN party is, but it's basically like, everyone brings their computers or laptops over to someone's house, and we all just get on the same network and we all game together, and we kind of group up, and basically like we're all on our own machines, we're all on our own laptops or computers, but we're all playing the same game, and like we're in the same like group, and playing towards the same objectives, and that was a whole lot of fun. And that, I think that was like kind of joy and happiness that was brought on by these technological advancements. But I can't say the same is true for everyone else. I think in a lot of ways, technology, social media has really isolated a lot of people. It's warped people's perceptions on what is truly, like what do people truly want. And when they see, there's a lot of fake, like rich people online trying to sell themselves by like renting supercars and renting mansions, and or even like just recording themselves with something nice in the background, believing that that's really their, it's something that they own. But yeah, it's just there's two sides to it. Like it can in some ways, but in other ways I think it really takes away from people's ability to be present in their own experiences of happiness. Nice cars, material possessions, talked a little bit about that. True love, this was an interesting one, and I think when I take Laurie Santos's course on happiness, I'm going to be curious about what she says about this, because what she talked about just very generally was that couples are not happier, or they are happier than people who are single, but only really for about 1 to 2 years, and then their happiness kind of returns down to their baseline. But I think something that you'll see that kind of contradicts that in a future slide. Well, I won't give it away just yet, but I think there's something that contradicts that. But I don't know. You guys can be the judge of that. Perfect body. I've never had a perfect body. I mean, I was really scrawny when I was in high school. It's because I did track and field and cross country. And I have a little bit more of a dad bod now. But I'm working on working that off. I started working out like kind of more intensely maybe like 2.5 weeks ago. Because about a month ago, my back was out and I could hardly walk. And so, it took some physical therapy. It took a chiropractic to kind of adjust me, and I'm doing better now for sure. But the workouts that I'm doing now are way more intense, and so I've been noticing that I'm losing a little bit of weight and gaining a little bit more muscle mass. So that's good. But yeah, does having that perfect body really bring you happiness? And I think some of the research found that what ends up happening, I thought I was getting a phone call. What ends up happening is that once you attain that body that you're looking for, you end up comparing yourself to someone who has an even like better proportioned body than your own, and you just kind of keep striving towards something that's always just better than what you want, or than what you think you want. Same thing goes for perfect grades. Like it's a temporary feeling. Like perfect grades, you try looking for some way that you can improve regardless of kind of how well you're doing. You tend to not recognize that you're basically achieving perfection, but there's something to be said about perfection not being what happiness is all about. And this leads me to something called hedonic adaptation, and this is things that initially impact our happiness a lot stop having the same impact over time. And basically what that means is you get used to things. Like you may have this idea in your mind that some event or some show or some person is going to have this huge impact on your happiness. But when that day finally comes where you experience that thing, you one, your happiness is not as much as you thought it would be, and then two, you get used to it really quickly. And that's our minds being wired to adapt to the situation at hand. And it's something naturally that occurs. And that's what that's what Laurie Santos calls hedonic adaptation. You have this baseline happiness, and then you experience the event, and you're like, oh wow, that's so fun, that's exciting, I'm so happy. And then and then kind of falls off. And am I think I'm not signed in. I don't know if I can see the chat. Oh no. Let me sign in really quickly. Give me 1 second. I can't tell if anybody's in the chat because I think it didn't sign me in, it looks like. So I have to enter in my information really quickly. Where is, let's see. Here it is. Okay, go down to my email. Where did it go? Oops. Yeah, I don't want to miss. You know, if anyone's typing anything into the chat. So I'm trying to sign in here. Okay, here we go. Password. Let's see, where is it? There we go. Okay, now I got the chat back. Suzanne said, when I left my job in 2021, I was so overweight and I got to it. Took care of myself, and in 7 to 8 months lost 35 pounds. What a relief. And how much better I feel. Still keeping it off. That is awesome. That's awesome. I mean, it's tough, especially, you know, in as you get older, it gets harder and harder to make that effort, you know, to keep to get some weight off and then to keep it off. You know, it takes sustained effort, and that's awesome. You know, like you got to it, and you know, you had a vision of, you know, what you thought was gonna get you to that point that, you know, I want to experience this, and I'm gonna do what it takes to get there. And it took you some time, you know, 7 to 8 months, but you stuck to it, and you know, you said, what a relief, how much better I feel. That's awesome. So yeah, hedonic adaptation, it's getting used to things. So what does make us happy? And I didn't get rid of that little that little fist there. That was a graphic from a previous live stream, but that's okay. I have the information here. So I'm going to go over some of these items, and I have notes on these. But savoring. What do I mean by savoring? You know, something that makes us happy. Give me a second. Oh, that's in. Oh, sorry. That's over here. There we go. Maximize that. Savoring has more to do with investing in experiences rather than material possessions or material goods, and really kind of taking the time to appreciate those experiences. My dog's right here. I think she's hungry and she's wanting me to give her some food. No, loco, it's no. Patras, patras, gracias. I'm sorry. I'll give you dinner after I'm done, okay? I'll give you dinner after I'm done. She's giving me the look. Um, yeah, just to take the time to uh, savor those moments that you know are you're enjoying, and even if, like, say you order a super good burrito, take time to savor that burrito. Like, be in that moment and really take the time to enjoy the flavors that you're tasting. Things like that. uh, she gives examples of, like, some people might find taking a really hot shower as enjoyable, or finding a really good donut. It takes just a few seconds to really enjoy it, but when you take the time to do that, you tend to experience more happiness because of it. And then experiencing those moments with a friend or family or loved one boosts your levels of happiness, when you can savor those moments with someone else. Gratitude. When you recall the good times that you've had in your life, especially when you write about those experiences, when you write about past experiences, as if you were experiencing them over again, can tend to boost your levels of happiness. And I have this habit that I haven't been as good as I should be lately. I was super good on it up until my son was born, and then I tried to maintain it, but it was tough. But I'm starting to get back into it again, which is daily writing, and I call it my daily highlights. And it's just looking back on your day and writing about the moment, like any moments that had an emotional impact, typically a positive emotional impact on you. And that for me is kind of like my own gratitude writing. Like, I look back on the day, and I was like, I think to myself, is there anything that I lived today that I could, like, share with an experience that I could share with a friend or a family member that moved me. And that's kind of like my own personal experience of writing things that had a positive impact on me. A piece of cake on my cheat days. Yeah, savor that cake on your cheat days. Yeah, I know a good cheat day, will bring a lot of happiness to people. um, let's see, what else on gratitude? Other ways to boost gratitude. I don't know if I agree with this one, but she talks about thinking of today as if it were your last day. And I think that can be a little bit morbid. But it might be a way, to think, like, today's my last day, and I'm gonna do everything that I can to enjoy it. I don't think I've ever done that. Like, I've ever thought about, today is my last day. But maybe it works for some people. And then another thing related to gratitude is interrupting your joy, so that when you come back to whatever it is that you were experiencing that was a positive experience, it's like you cut off kind of like that incline towards the happiness that you're experiencing, and then you take a break from it, and then, like, that break kind of brings it back down, and then when you come back to it, like, it brings your happiness back up again. So it's like a roller coaster of happiness. But interrupting your joy, I guess I didn't know this, but studies kind of show that even commercial breaks have been shown to increase our enjoyment of shows. And and I think that, I don't know, I think that's kind of true. Like, I remember watching, TV shows back when I was a kid, and having to wait for the 1-2 minute commercial to finish. And you could use that time to like go take a bathroom break, you go grab a snack, and then come back, and then make it before the show starts, and then you get into that excitement again. And now like you can binge everything, and I feel like binging through an entire season of something, the only way you can take a break is pausing. And I don't know if there's as much satisfaction in pausing something and then going to do whatever it is you're going to do and then come back. I don't know if it has the same effect, but I think generally, like, if I try to binge something and I'm sitting there for hours on end, like I probably feel worse than I did when I started. But I don't know, that's just me. The third thing on here is kindness. And it's similar to gratitude, but counting your kindnesses. And what she means by that is kindness that you show to others, and then kindness that you receive from others. And kind of taking stock of those things can really boost your levels of happiness. One thing she talks about is trying to practice 5 random acts of kindness, such as, she gives examples: buying a stranger coffee, giving $5 to a cause you care about, putting change in a parking meter that's about to expire, doing the dishes for your tired spouse. All of these things can boost your levels of happiness. And then and then surprisingly, she says money can buy happiness, but if you spend it on the right things. And what she talks about is not necessarily on the material possessions, but on experiences that you can share with others, on things that you can experience with others, or even spending for others, like donating your money to causes that are important to you. The fourth thing on this list is social connection. Having stronger social ties makes you not only happier but healthier. And this is, one of the things that I thought was a little contradictory to the idea that couples, whether married or not, are generally happier 1 to 2 years before their happiness returns down to their baseline. And I think, as long as you continue to cultivate that relationship with your significant other, there are a lot of moments that you can experience happiness with your loved one. Just this morning, my wife and I were watching the Paris Olympics, and she was getting really into like the racing. Hey, what are you doing? I'm gonna get you dinner. She's like really pushing me. I have 20 minutes left. I got 20 minutes, okay? Para atrás. Gracias. Mama? Where's Mama? Mama? Who's gonna? She's gonna go look for my wife. But yeah, so my wife and I, we were watching the Paris Olympics this morning. She was getting really into the track and field events. And you know when those like the sprinters and the runners, they get on their blocks and they kind of go down and they get ready to like kind of start off sprinting. Well, she did that, and she was like, she looks to me and she goes, "Give me the gun sound so I can like kind of take off." And she was here in our living room, and so she gets down, and I go, and she like goes like this. And she's like, "What the heck was that? That's not a gun." I'm like, "What? I don't have a real gun." And we both kind of started laughing, like hysterically with each other. And I'm like, "Okay, let's try it again. Let's try it again." And she gets down, and then I go, pew! And she's like, "What the heck was that?" I was like, "Well, at least it's a gun sound, kind of." And she's like, "Give me like a really good gun sound." I'm like, "Oh, forget it." And then we're just both there kind of laughing with each other. And I don't know, those little moments like that I can look back on and be like, yeah, that was like, I was having fun. We were having fun together, and being a little playful. It was like a little moment of happiness between us. You can hear my son in the background. I don't know if you can hear him crying. Yesterday, My son, I was changing his diaper, and I brushed kind of my fingers on his stomach right above where his diaper line is, and he just started laughing like crazy. And that little moment that I wish my wife would have been there, but I did it again later, but I recorded it so I could show my wife, like, oh, he was actually like laughing. These little experiences, these little moments, we still continue to find things that bring both of us, that we can share with each other, that bring us both happiness. But yeah, social connection. Talking to strangers makes us happier. She doesn't talk much about this, but I when I take her course, I think once I take her course, I'm gonna share some of the insights that I got from taking it. But but yeah, I guess talking to strangers can make us happier. And I'll talk about another experience I had today. So I went to go get my hair cut, and the hairstylist that cuts my hair, her and I have this kind of like ongoing conversation of the drama that she's going through in her life, and I won't talk about it, but it's like it's fun, like it's kind of fun to talk about. She shares what she's going through in her life, and I share some of the challenges that I'm facing in my own life, and we kind of go back and forth, suggesting things and just kind of bonding, over while I'm getting a haircut, and I look forward to those times where we kind of just talk about random stuff, usually about stuff we're going through in our own lives, but and then another situation, right after I got my haircut, I went to the market, and it's a market that's literally across the street from where I live, and so I'm used to seeing a lot of the people that work there, and I went through the self-service section where you pay, you ring your own stuff up, and you pay and you head out. But there's this woman there that I tend to see pretty often, and we just struck up a conversation today, and and I mean, I wasn't in a rush or anything. It was just fun to kind of just hear her thoughts about how her day is going. She felt like it was going a little bit slow. It was busy in the morning, and then it just like really slowed down, and it's been slow the rest of the day. And she's like, "Oh, it's been dragging on." And then I made a comment about like Halloween stuff being up, and we were both like, "It's crazy!" Like it's like beginning of August, and like we're starting to see Halloween things go up. I mean, not to like bag on Halloween, like it's one of my favorite holidays, but it was weird to see stuff come up so early, but it's just that whole idea of like making conversation with, I see her all the time, but I don't necessarily talk to her all the time, and so we ended up striking up a conversation today, and it was kind of nice. I think next time I'll ask her what her name is, just so we're on a name to name basis, because I think one of the things I learned in the book, how to influence, how to how to win friends and influence people. One of the things that the author says is that a person's name is like the most sacred thing that they could hear, and even on like a subconscious level, like people hearing their own names is like, oh, what, and it's just an interesting dynamic that we have as human beings. Like hearing our own name, we're just like, our ears tend to perk up, and we just like, oh, it's my name. Someone said my name. But I personally like to be more on a name to name basis with people, and I make more of an effort to try and remember people's names so that the next time I see them, I can refer to them by name, and they get more of a sense of like they feel important because I remembered what their names were, and it's just like a small thing that can make someone's day. Like just remembering a name. That's social connection. Flow. Flow has to do with when you're doing activities that you really kind of just really get into, and you just like hone in on, and your focus kind of gets like narrowed, and you're just like focused on this thing because you're so passionate about it, and you really enjoy doing it. And I think that's kind of like the state of flow. And when you're in that state, it tends to boost your levels of happiness. Features of flow include challenging but attainable goals. Where is this? Oh, like she says, watching Netflix by comparison doesn't help flow because it's not challenging and doesn't involve any skills. So it's not the same thing when you're like focused in on a TV show, because you're not necessarily doing anything other than like paying attention to what you're watching. Um, but it requires concentration. It requires like using a skill, um, depending on like whatever skill it is that you're doing. Like when I think back on like when I used to my gaming days, and especially like competitive games. When I would get into that state of like focus where I was competing like on a team with some friends, and if we ever like succeeded together, and it took that concentration, like when we would win, like that would temporarily like really spike and boost our happiness levels, and to me like that kind of felt like a state of flow. And then when I'm doing research for these live sessions, like that to me gets me excited too. And I tend to get in like this state of flow up until like my son starts crying because he's hungry or he has a dirty diaper or something. But then my focus like just changes to like attending to his needs, and then like I don't get mad at him or anything. I just my mindset quickly tends to change so that I'm like in dad mode, so that my flow kind of goes into like another thing that I need to focus on, and I try to be present when my son needs me. But flow tends to be intrinsically rewarding. So last week we talked a little bit about intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Check out that live stream if you haven't. But intrinsically rewarding just means that, like, it's something that matters to you. Like when you're doing something that matters to you, it's important to you, and you can really like kind of effortlessly focus on it. Like you tend to enter in that state of flow. Another sign that something is putting you in a state of flow is that time kind of just seems to fly by. And I know for a fact that happens a lot with gamers that, especially gamers that are like competitive or are playing something that they really enjoy. Time really tends to just like really fly by. And then same can be true for someone who's working a career that they've wanted to be in for the longest time, and they find joy in doing what they're doing. Same thing happens, like the time just really flies by. The next thing on this list is meditation. I don't necessarily meditate myself, and I guess there's a form. I'll describe this. There's a form of meditation that I do to help me really get into focus mode. And this is something that I just found out is actually good for people who have ADHD, because it works for what I'll call neurotypical people. People who don't have any like kind of mental challenges, and then people who have ADD, ADHD. This works for everyone, and it's not meditation. It's sort of meditation, but it's not really meditation. It's a form of improving your focus. And what you do is you try to find a quiet space. You close your eyes, and actually before you do that, you set a timer for like anywhere between 2 to 4 minutes, and that once you set the timer, you close your eyes and you start to breathe in and out. And as you're breathing, you want to really focus in on either something that you're experiencing with your body. You want to focus in on either your heartbeat, how your hands are whatever position your hands are in. I think the most common thing people tend to focus on is the breathing, the inhales and exhale. But you breathe and you just focus in on one thing. And for this example, I'll say, your inhales and exhale. So, for 2 to 4 minutes, you're focusing in on your inhale, exhale, and you just keep doing that until naturally your mind will begin to wander. And once your mind begins to wander, that's when you want to acknowledge, like, oh shoot, like my mind began to wander. Like I should, dial it back in to my breathing, or whatever it is that you chose. But in this example, breathing. So let me. I started thinking about like the dishes that are building up. So let me go back to breathing, and then you inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Oh shoot, I forgot that project is due, this Friday. Like I have to work on. Oh, my mind began to wander again. Let me go back to my breathing. Inhale, exhale, and you try and do this 2 to 3 times a day. And as your focus improves to where that entire timer, you can focus in on just your inhales and exhale without your mind wandering, because that's what tends to happen over time. You're able to improve your focus. You want to work your way up to about 15 minutes. And at 15 minutes, you have the ability to completely rewire your brain to focus in on anything that you set your mind to. And this has been proven by some research, and I'll try to look for it, but this is something taken out of another psychologist's video that I watched earlier today. But yeah, you can completely rewire your brain to focus on whatever it is you want to focus on by doing this kind of simple exercise every day for like 2 to 3 times a day. And it starts with just a couple minutes a day. But setting a time to do it, and actually like putting in the effort to do it is what it takes to improve with anything that you do. But this is just one way. And I say, like, I'm talking about this because we're on meditation. I don't really meditate, but I do this exercise to really get me to focus when I need to get something done, when I start to go into work mode. Exercise. I mean, I talked about this in the very beginning of this live stream, but exercise, when I accomplish a tough workout, like it just feels good. Like you've accomplished, especially when I feel like it's something that I don't necessarily think I can get through, entirely. Like there are some, like today, for example, like I in the middle of it, like I was like, oh man, this is a really tough workout. But today's was simple, but it was tough. It was 1,000 air squats. And I used this deck of cards. It was developed, I believe, by someone that was in the military, and it's called combat training workouts. And as you go higher in the numbers, like from 2 to ace, like the Jack, Queen, King, Ace, like those are the toughest workouts. And today I got in one of the aces is 1,000 air squats. And my legs were, by about 800, my legs were nearly done. And yeah, it was just really tough to get through. But once you accomplish it, like it just, that sense of accomplishment gives you a temporary boost of happiness and confidence and a whole bunch of other stuff. Yeah, exercise improves, cognitive function. It improves your cardiovascular system. Your heart, makes your heart stronger. And it improves so many things that and it's weird because like people logically and rationally understand that exercise is good for them, but they still avoid it. And I know it's because of the perceived stress and difficulty that comes with doing the work that's required to complete the exercise. and I talk about this again in one of my previous live streams, where we talk about like what the mind goes through when you want to try and accomplish something that you perceive to be stressful or difficult. Your emotions tend to take over, and you override the function of your prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for logical, rational decision making. And people that are more susceptible to their emotions tend to procrastinate the most, and this tends to happen with like some of the smarter people, like the smartest people tend to procrastinate the most. Suzanne says, I need to exercise 5 times a week just to give me the energy I need to get on with my day. Helps me sleep too. Oh yeah, that's a good one, and actually like a good segue into the last bullet point here, which is sleep. Um, if you have trouble sleeping, get in a good tough workout, and and for most people, it will help you knock out like easy. Yeah, but sleep is another thing that improves happiness. It's sh I think Laurie Santos, calls it like a magic of what sleep does to your body. Like if you aim to get between 7 to 9 hours each night, you improve your physical health, your mental health, cognition, mood, like uh, everything else just tends to feel better when you've had a good night's sleep. And I think that was the last thing on this list, and it's 6:58, right on time. But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? Like, what are some of the things that bring happiness to your life? And go ahead and once I end the stream, like leave a comment, or if you're watching this after I've done the live stream, like go ahead and like share your thoughts with what brings happiness to you, and what, or is there anything that you thought was gonna make you happy, but after you experienced it, you were like, oh, it wasn't as exciting as I thought it was gonna be. Share those thoughts as well, and and feel free to comment like any other topics within the realm of what I talk about in this channel that you'd like to hear or talk about, that you'd like me to do research on, and I'd love to do a presentation on it. I think that's it for this one, and until next time, keep learning and keep growing. All right, see you guys in the next one.